where literally anybody will be fully working out without
All right, everybody. How about them Dogs? 24-20 down on the St. Johns River. The Bulldogs got it done very much in the way that I kind of thought they would. If you watch the channel, if you watch the podcast, if you watch SEC Powers Hour on Thursday night, you know I said, don't be shocked if this thing's going to be tight at the half. Can't get tighter than tied. Hang in there, strap in tight, because it's going to be a fight. And I don't think they're going to cover. I think it's going to be closer than the experts think. Sure enough, 24-20. Now, of course, Gunner could have strolled right into the end zone there at the end to spread that out a little bit. And I'm sure he made a few people who bet the game not a whole lot, not very happy, but that's all right. I actually loved what Gunner Stockton did there at the end. And think back to the Auburn game. Right? He dives into the end zone. He scores. Georgia wins. But then Kirby gets on him on the sideline. Don't ever say that they don't take coaching, because that's exactly what happened right there. You know what I mean? He remembered that ass chewing that he got at Auburn from Kirby, and he decided that he was going to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to take a knee right here. And hating Gators the way I do, right? And again, remember, every day is a great day to hate the Gators, right? But hating them the way I do, the fact that Gunner just strolled up to the goal line and stopped and looked at him for a second and then just took a knee, that's even better. That's like twisting the knife a little bit, if you know what I mean. But that's okay, because that's what rivalries are. And I love the fact that that's how it went down. So how many of y'all were out there going, oh man, here we go. Same old kind of feeling, right? Feeling all nervous. See, that's why you got to hang out with us over here. Told you, strap in. It's going to be tough. But seriously, all kudos to the defense. Finally got to stop when they needed to. Bowed their back, got the stop on fourth down. And from that point, I think everybody knew. Didn't you know? Because I felt like I knew. They got the fourth down stop, and I didn't say it. I didn't say it, so full transparency. But I started to turn to Alice and say, Kirby Death March, here it comes. And they just went right down the field after having not been able to do much there in the third quarter, in the first part of the fourth quarter. After they got that stop, they're like, oh yeah, it's about to be lights out. We're about to just end this for you, Florida. And that's exactly what they did. So couldn't be prouder of the guys with their resilience. Couldn't be prouder of the fact that they stood in there and did exactly what we all hoped they would do, which is run it to 5 straight over the Gators, which, I mean, again, you just can't beat that. I want to take a second and let's get a little look-see here. Let's go ahead and look at, I have these up here for reference in case we need them, right? Let's get this stuff up here for reference so we can see it. Gunner Stockton, 20 of 29, 223, 2 touchdowns. And he could have had a rushing touchdown. So that's a pretty good day. Pretty good day. Georgia rushing, Chauncey Bowens, who I had said I hope he has a big day, had the huge 36-yard touchdown run that had to be so sweet for him, being from the state of Florida, right? Coming home this week, they put him in front of the media on Tuesday, and he's like, of course we know how big this game is. And then he goes out there and has a moment like that in this game. So happy for him, man. And kudos to Nate Frazier. He didn't break anything loose, but he ran hard all day. And it seemed like for the most part, Georgia ran the ball okay. There was a long stretch in there where they didn't get much done in the run game. And you have to give credit to Florida there, because I said their first 22, they're as good as anybody else in the league. It's just that it takes more than just a roster, right? So they put up a good fight. They got after Gunner a little bit. I think they had a sack or two on the day. But once again, the first half, it's just weird when you go down there. For a minute, I did feel like it was 1998 again, or 1996 maybe, right? Where just things just aren't breaking their way. But at the half, I absolutely felt like Georgia was in control of the game. At no point in the first half did I feel like they were not in control. And that's because of the way Georgia played the run. I think the number was 26 yards at the half Georgia had allowed on the ground. That's why it didn't feel like the game was out of control for Georgia at all. They had one bust, which led to the touchdown directly, right? Second safety busted, and there you go, touchdown. And then you have a ball that hits the receiver in the hands, not a perfect ball, but it hits him in the hands. He doesn't make the catch, tips, overthrows. Florida gets that ball, and then they managed to get a field goal out of that one. So they gave them 10 points in the first half, so it's tied. And then in the second half, Georgia comes out and do what they do most of the time. Now, there was a stretch in there, like there has been every week this season, where Georgia just seemed like they couldn't get a stop. It just didn't matter. The drive where Florida goes ahead there in the second half felt that way. And again, kudos to Jaden Ball. And that's the Georgia kid who wanted to have a good day against Georgia. He had a pretty good day, 15 for 72. But we have to give credit to Zachariah Branch today. And holding his hand in this is Gunnar Stockton, right? Gunnar is the same guy that he's been all year. Steady, protected the football, made good decisions. I mean, everything that you want Gunnar to do, he did. And his guy today was Zachariah Branch. I mean, the catch and run, great design by Bobo on that explosive to get him wide open. Gunnar puts the ball on him, and then Zach does what he's great at, which is get loose in the broken field. And that was a big game. But then he had a couple of really big catches, including one where he took a hit while he was still in the air, which absolutely should have been flagged as a defenseless player. It wasn't, should have been. So, you know, that's just one of those things that sometimes you don't understand with SEC officiating, because just moments prior, the Florida receiver had received, you know, a penalty where they said he took on the KJ Bolden hit, which it was targeting. So there's no dispute there. KJ, you have to see what you hit, and he couldn't because he hit him with the top of his head. Don't do that. There's no question about the fact that it was targeting. The question was how they referred to the receiver as a defenseless player. Okay, there's a little bit of gray area there. He tried to defend himself, which is why it wound up being helmet to helmet. But if you're going to call him defenseless, because he had already put his feet on the ground, then you have to call the one on Zachariah Branch a defenseless personal foul for a defenseless player because he was still in the air. So I'm well beyond arguing over how soft the game is, or we didn't do it that way in my day. I'm beyond that argument. It is the way it is. My only thing is, if you're going to call it, then call it, like, all the time. So either way, Zach Branch, 10 balls, 112 yards. Great day for him. I mean, there were just players all over the place who made plays for Georgia today. CJ Allen, 13 tackles, 7 solo. That's a great performance. I'm still concerned about the tackling in space. There wasn't a great deal of sure tackling in space today. And the fact that Florida was beat up at wide receiver probably didn't make Georgia look as bad as maybe they would have looked in terms of tackling in space, because all those guys are very athletic at the wide receiver position. They weren't playing. Wouldn't have made a difference in the game, I don't think, because Lagway didn't seem to play that great, but I will say that Georgia has to continue to work to improve on their tackling in space. That's just something that they're going to have to do. I was hopeful that Zach might get a chance to show something in the return game today. That didn't really happen. He had a couple of returns, but nothing really to write home about. I keep waiting for that to happen. I hope it happens. And other than the one shank today, Thorson had a good day kicking the ball for Georgia. So that was great. So on the whole, I mean, I think that the Dogs did a pretty doggone good job today in terms of what they needed to do to get the job done. Again, Gunnar Stockton, 20 of 29, 223 and 2 scores. The interception wasn't his fault. And then Chauncey Bowen, super happy for him to break off that run the way he did, which winds up being the dagger. And again, Gunnar choosing to not go into the end zone there at the end is really special. A little salt in the wound, a little twist of the knife, if you will, for the rivalry. And at the same time, the sportsmanlike thing to do, the smart thing to do, because you stop right there, you just kneel the clock out. They can't get the ball back. Game over. Georgia wins. 5 straight over the hated Gators. Other than the COVID year, which was just weird, Georgia has been in absolute control of this game in recent memory. So all of you that have decided to jump in here with me tonight, thank you so much for showing up. 82, awesome. I appreciate that. Jump in the chat, if you will. Let me know where you're watching from, because that's a really high number, and I appreciate y'all being here. I see What Life in here. Hadn't seen you before, friend. Thanks for taking time to comment. All of our normals are in here. We got Timothy. We got Kimberly Ann. We've got, I believe I saw Carol. Yes, you're in here. Good to see you. Chris Tittle's in here tonight. Awesome. Lil Frank is in here tonight. Happy to see you guys. Kev Vo Brownie. Nice. Good to see you in here. Jeremy Nix is in here. Jeremy was sweating it a little bit, probably as much as the rest of us was. That was pretty cool. Matt Cochran's in here with us now. That could be my buddy. If it is, what's up, bros? Good to see you in here. I appreciate you dropping in. Tim's in here. Carol's in here. Awesome. Yeah, thanks, guys. I didn't know if I was going to do this at all, but I decided that why not? The other games are on the screen right here. It's early. I don't think I'll be on here too long, but I wanted to jump in and say what's up and just share my initial thoughts about what happened in the game there. So what stood out to you? Did I miss anything? Because I tell you, the other thing we have to talk about is the injury situation that is developing for Georgia on the defensive side of the football right here. Next week, they have to go on the road to play Mississippi State, which that game just ended. I think Mississippi State pulled off the win on the road at Arkansas. So that means that they're going to be riding high coming off a win. Georgia has to go on the road. That's going to be a noon kick in Mississippi, which is 11 local. So that's going to be something to watch, just something to watch, because, you know, both teams are traveling this week. You have to get back home and then get ready for the next one. So with the injury situation going on for Georgia this week, I mean, the number 2 safety position has been a sore spot all year. I saw nothing today that makes me feel any more secure about that position. Doesn't mean the guys aren't playing hard. It just means that there's clearly a drop-off. KJ Bolden, who I had questions about today before he got ejected, that is the guy that's preseason All-American, preseason All-SEC, the guy who's supposed to be leading that bunch back there. But that number 2 safety position has been a sore spot. And now, you know, Kyron Jones was out today with injury. We don't know when he's coming back. Ja'Cory Thomas was in there for him. And then, you know, we get the Branch brother in there, Zion, because KJ leaves the game. And now I'm holding my breath every time the ball goes deep. The play that was reviewed where the ball absolutely hit the ground on the 3rd and 4, where Lagway throws the ball deep, that play is the perfect example. Ja'Cory had already had the one bust early in the game, which led directly to the touchdown. Then they let that dude get behind them on 3rd and 4. I mean, if it's a good ball, he strolls into the end zone and we're having a different discussion here. But he didn't. And, you know, that's because Lagway was moving on the play. He was pushed out of the pocket. He throws it up deep. You know, that's why it happened the way it did. But the fact that he was behind them is the problem. So that secondary situation with DeMello getting hurt, I haven't heard an update on that. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a shoulder or if it's an elbow. But either way, it looks like he's in pain. And it looks like he's probably going to miss at least a little bit of time. So is Daniel Harris still on the roster? If he is, and he is, then maybe he makes his return this week. Because, my goodness, Ellis Robinson, brother, catch the ball. Hit you in the hands. We wouldn't have had to worry about the drama with Gunner having the opportunity to take a knee if, you know, my guy Ellis snatches that ball out of the air and puts it in the end zone, because he walks in if he catches it. So, again, good play there by the Dogs on defense. We brought the cap blitz off the corner with Aguero. DJ looks up and is like, uh-oh, and lets the ball go early. Ellis, the ball's right in your face, babe. Catch it. Put it in the end zone. Ball game. But regardless, Dogs hold on. But now we got Ellis Robinson. We got Dalen Everett. Daniel Harris, you would suspect, will be the first guy who's going to get the opportunity to get his way back on the field. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have any insight on that. But That's just the way I would think it would go, but we shall see, because there are a lot of guys back there. We know that there's depth. They're just young, and most of them haven't played a whole lot. So it looks like we might be forced into a situation where that has to happen against Mississippi State, which should be a concerning factor for Georgia, because Mississippi State is going to spread you out 4 and 5 wide, and they're going to throw the ball all over the yard. So the two things that we take away from today's game: still not great tacklers in space, still have to be concerned about that defensive backfield against the pass, are both going to be tested like maybe they haven't been tested since the Tennessee game when we go to play Mississippi State next weekend. So keep that in mind. Think about that all week. Tonight, though, we get to enjoy the victory. The 5th straight time our Dogs have gone down there and put a whipping on the Gators. Say it with me: every day is a great day to hate the Gators. Who else we got? Antoine's in here. What's up, brother? It's good to see you. And that is my guy, Matt. Good to see you in here, friend. I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, Antoine joined us. Did anybody else join us since the last time I checked in? Wayne from Facebook. What's up, brother? Good to see you over there. Savannah, by way of Daytona, Florida. You're on the right side of things. You're on the right side of things today. Love to see it. Augusta's in here with us. Awesome. I appreciate you guys being here. This is so cool. Yeah, we don't usually do a lot of the immediate reactions or watch-alongs or anything like that, because, you know, I enjoy watching the game, and I got to be at home, and that's what we did. But we decided to jump on here and say what's up tonight. So the defensive backfield, the injury situation, we don't know anything about Jordan Hall yet. So that's another issue where those young dudes like Agboko are going to have to show up. He flashed today. He played well today. He's a big body in the middle. His primary role is to clog it up, not be moved against the run, and then let those linebackers do their thing. So he is coming along, and it's nice to see that he does make plays when he gets in the game. But the other guys are just going to have to take on that workload. Talking about Christian Miller, Xavier McLeod, Elijah Griffin, those guys, they're going to have to just keep improving their game, keep coming along. Because the Dogs are beat up. They went from being pretty doggone healthy on the eve of this game, right? When you look at the initial and then the secondary injury report for Georgia coming into the Florida game, there were players missing, but only one starter, and that was Kyron Jones. Now we have to hold our breath and cross our fingers, because when that list comes out next week, it's going to look a lot different, I have a feeling. I mean, DeMelo's injury looks like it could cost him some time. Jordan Hall's injury, I'm not sure if it's an ankle or if it's a knee and an ankle, but either way, it looks like that's going to put him a little slow, and he might miss some time. So the Dogs are going to have to do all they can to get well, because, again, they will be tested against Mississippi State next week. Remember, last year at home, Mississippi State threw it all over the yard and really put up a bunch of yards on Georgia. That's what it's going to be this week. They're going to do that to Georgia this week. The question is, can Georgia, answer the bell offensively, put up enough points to win the game on the road? Because Mississippi State's going to sling it all over the place. It's going to be a real test for Georgia in a way that maybe most of us didn't think it was going to be. Because when you start losing guys the way we are, this brings us right back into that portal NIL discussion. No one is as deep as they have been in the past. And when you lose guys in bunches, the way it looks like Georgia did today, that's going to show up on the field. So this week, they're going to get a lot of gray hairs, lose a lot of sleep if you're coaching defensive backs for Georgia. Again, they have bodies that just haven't yet been able to get it done consistently at corner. I mean, you've got Dalen, you've got Ellis. Those are your two guys first. Daniel Harris is probably going to get back on the field this week, you would imagine. Beyond that, on the depth chart, we really have to start looking to see who it might be. I'm not real sure. And then at secondary, at safety, that secondary safety, we know that we're going to miss KJ for at least a half against Mississippi State. So for the first half, you're going to have two guys back there who have not played at least together very much at all this year, whether it's Zion and Ja'Cory or if it turns out to be Maddox, whoever it is, you're going to have a lot of guys back there who are going to be finding their way around it. And again, Mississippi State can absolutely hurt you with their pass game. There's no two ways about that. So, yet another wild Saturday in the SEC. It is, it's tough everywhere you go, man. I looked up, I saw what was happening in Arkansas, the way Mississippi State and Arkansas were going back and forth. The Texas game, wasn't sure how that one was going to go early on. And then by the end, it had cinched down to a 3-point game. And I'm looking up here right now at Oklahoma and Texas, and we're talking about a game that is essentially an elimination game in terms of the college football playoff. So it's going to be a wild ride. I'm sure today's ride is not over, but that's what we're in for this year. That's just the way it is. Maurice Green's checking in from Valdosta. Good to see you. I appreciate you dropping this, your location in there. That's cool. Yes, little Frank, a Griswold game. I'll get to work on that here in just a little while. I'll see if I can't pull one of those together for us. That's pretty good. But yeah, there were some questions out here. You don't agree with the call on Zion Branch. You mean, which call, Antoine? You talking about Zach when he didn't get hit? Is that what you're referring to there? Because I'm not thinking about the Zion play. I'm just not remembering which one that is. Antoine's in Columbus, though. He's down there where the rivers are. Clearwater, Florida. Don and Tracy in Clearwater. See, this makes me smile. Clearwater is our favorite place in Florida. So hello and welcome to you. Thank you for checking in and letting us know what's up. Thank you for letting us know. Lamont, Florida from James. Good to see you in here, friends. Sid is in here over on Facebook. No, KJ, or no, Sid. KJ cannot play a full game. Well, he got ejected in the second quarter. So, I mean, he did miss the entire second half. I think he has to miss the first quarter, or I'm sorry, the first half, because he played into the second quarter. Now, in fairness, I could be mistaken, but I think because it happened in the second quarter, then that means he has to sit the first half. So I could be mistaken. You might be right there. Do you see any more upsets tonight? I don't know. I'll have to take a look here. Y'all bear with me as I take a look at the rest of the slate here. We'll go back over here and look at the scoreboard because I am not sure. I can't remember all the games off the top of my head. Sorry. South Carolina and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is in control right now. Michigan's up there. Yeah, NC State is up 14-7. And on the SEC Powers Hour, I had said that could be a game that gets Georgia Tech, and I stand by that. That looks a little iffy. I don't have a reason why. I just know that it felt weird. So I think there's a possibility that NC State could get Georgia Tech tonight. We'll see how that goes. And I mean, would you call it an upset if Oklahoma beat Tennessee? I think I probably would. I mean, I figure Tennessee's going to win this game. And the rankings would say it's an upset. So technically, I think you got a shot for one right there. Nebraska's up on USC early. In our picks the other night, I did pick USC to win that game, but I guess technically that could be one as well. I think Utah's going to handle Cincinnati. I don't think that's really a spot for an upset there. So those are the ones that are in the top 25. Beyond that, I'm not sure I can think of any that come to mind. Oh, the Crackers in here. Tree Crackers in here. Go Dogs. What's up from Facebook? Good to see you. Hey, Bakerman. I don't care if it's ugly, baby. It's Florida. And you know I hate me some Florida. So that's just how that is. You know what I mean? And I will take it every day of the week. And yeah, James, I mentioned earlier about the gunner play. That it's both. It's two, and it's glorious. It is both a classy move. It is an intelligent football smart move to take that knee at the 1 yard line, but it's also a beautiful pinch of salt in the wound. It's a beautiful twist of the knife because he had the opportunity to choose to stop, wait on them to get close, and then take the knee because he's got it like that. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a position of like power. And he had to enjoy that. So it's both. It's a brilliant football move. And at the same time, it's a little twist of the knife right there for a rival, which is, you know, how I like it. That's good stuff. And yes, Bakerman, good win. A win against Florida is always a good win. So that's awesome. Brayson has joined us. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but we got that W. That's right. That's exactly right. And again, that's what I tried to relay this week. You could say, I did say, we don't know how Florida is going to show up, but we knew that they hadn't been a quitter all year. They hadn't quit even when it was tough. I didn't expect them to quit today. I expected it to be close. I expected that, them to fight, and that's exactly what happened. They did all the things that you could tell. They were chippy. There was a lot of emotion in this game. They maintained that emotion throughout the second half. Georgia won the middle eight, and I would have to go back and look here. So I'm going to try to navigate back over here to the box score so we can take a look and find the team stats real quick. Take a look at what they did here. But if we jump back up here so I can share my screen, if you look here, I mean, what do we got? Let's quick look at it. For third down efficiency, Georgia was 50%, essentially. Florida was 2 of 11. It didn't feel like that as we were watching Georgia, but they were only 2 of 11 on third down and 0 and 2 on fourth down. And clearly, those fourth down stops were huge for Georgia. 361 total yards on offense for Georgia to 281 for the Gators. So it's not like they threw it all over the place. But again, keep in mind, they did not have their wide receivers, and then they lost another one during the game. So I'm sure that impacted them a little bit. And if you look at rushing, even with -7 rushing yards in the second half for Georgia up until that drive where they went ahead, Georgia still outrushed Florida 138 to 115. And in this game, the team that rushes for the most yards generally wins. So you can hang your hat on that. Georgia won the rushing game today, and they, did a pretty good job of holding Florida down in the rush game. So that's an indicator of who's going to win. Turn the ball over, that's a sign you're going to get beat. Georgia was able to overcome that today, which is important. That was a big deal. They were just more resilient, and decided. I mean, again, Gunner, that's not on Gunner. That was a tipped ball that hit the receiver's, not a tipped ball, but it hit the receiver's hands, and he, should have made that play. He didn't. Turned into a turnover and points for the Gators. So all things considered here, and explosive plays, I don't see that broken out right here, right now. But if we went back and looked, we can figure that out. I would imagine Georgia had the advantage in explosive plays. And it's probably not close. Florida was in it early because of explosive plays, but then in the second half, I think that shifted towards Georgia. So Georgia won the rushing game battle. They won the explosive plays battle. They did not win the turnover battle, but they won the middle eight. And when you win 3 out of those 4, it's a pretty good indicator that you're going to win. And the Dogs could have put 31 on the board today. So if you just look at the basics of what makes football games swing one way or the other, you can look at what Georgia and Florida did today and understand how Georgia gets this win. I mean, you know what they say about statistics, right? Statistics are liars, and you can make them read anything you want them to read. But I think if you watched the game and then you go back and look at how it shook out here, I think it makes sense, why Georgia was able to get this done at the end of the day. I think we can see that. So let's go ahead and make sure I got the right thing. And again, let's jump back over here to the box score, just to see if there's anything here that jumps out to us. I'm so happy for Chauncey Bowens, because that's a Florida kid who was coming back home. And when he stepped to the microphone on Tuesday, he was fully aware of what this game meant. And I was hoping he would have a nice day. And for him to get that run there at the end was really, really sweet. So those are my initial thoughts on the game. 225 has joined us. That's awesome. Good to see you in here. Literally eating gator bites. That's nice. When we went down to Jekyll a few weeks back, 2 or 3 weeks back, we made sure that we grabbed some gator tail while we were down there too. My girls had never had it, and they jumped in there and gave it a shot. And I was a big fan that they were willing to try it. It wasn't the best gator I've ever had. I've had better. When we were down in Destin, 20 years ago, I can remember we had gator bites down there that looked like chicken breast cut-ups, all white meat. You know, it was good stuff. But either way, we had a good time. I was happy the girls decided to try it. That's good stuff. Teresa's in here. I don't think I've said hello. Welcome in, Teresa. Smooth move. Yes, it was. Gunner's knee was a very smooth move there at the end of the game. Love to see it. Yeah. Yep, it was, Brayson. Sorry, I was reading your statement there. That was a nice. Are you talking about Gunner? Because that was pretty slick. That was pretty slick stuff. Pretty slick. And I'm glad that the guys were able to, the coaches, I mean, were able to calm everything down there at the end, because you could see that there was an opportunity for that thing to bubble over a little bit. And, you know, the Gators were talking, Georgia players were talking, you know, it is what it was. It's a hard fought game. And then they got down there and, the coaches separated everybody and kept it cool, which is, I'm glad that happened, because I hate it when things, you know, get out of control and bubble over like that. And then mar what otherwise is a really competitive, good game, which is what this game was, you know, and that's, yeah, I don't like Florida, but this was a competitive game. And I would have hated if something like that had happened there at the end. Harold is jumping in here. Always shout out the big guys in the trenches. And they did get it done. I had been talking to Alice, my wife, prior to that, or during that long drive there after the 4th down stop, the one where Chauncey puts it in the end zone. And I'm like, I had hoped Georgia might be able to run the ball a little bit better on the whole. And again, it's not like they had a bad day running the football. You know, 138 though is not 215, right? Clearly. I had just hoped they could have done a little bit more, but they'd done enough. And then when they needed to, they really did lean on them there, Harold. And I agree with you 100%. And the same goes for the defensive line. We talked about how they were beat up. You've got young guys in there, Agboko, among others. And they were able to hold up against that Florida run game pretty good because, you know, credit where it's due, Jaden Ball is a good football player. Another kid from the state of Georgia who wanted to beat Georgia in the worst way. He went out there, ran the ball hard. He was impactful in the game. There were, you know, he broke out a couple of explosives on his own. So they had to do the work there in the trenches, and they got it done. And that's a good thing. We saw Dwight Phillips Jr. get back on the field today, at least a little bit in the first half. I'm not sure if he didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't get the call later, you know, if it went to a different kind of running attack or what it was. So he didn't get that many carries, but it was good to see him get back on the field. We didn't see Josh McCray, which was a little surprising to me. Georgia didn't really have any of those where it was clearly, you know, a short yardage, got to have it kind of play. But I had gotten used to seeing Josh McCray in the game. And the fact that he wasn't in there today at all was a little bit of a surprise for me. So Big Dog 404 decided to jump in for a minute. What's up? Darren Johnson is in here. He says, now be honest, did you think the wide receivers for Florida made that catch late in the 4th quarter? I absolutely did not. Immediately, as soon as that happened, I'm like, the ball's on the ground. There was one replay where it looked to me, I think it was from behind and left of the receiver, where I actually turned to Alice and said, now that angle makes it look like he caught the ball. But then when you show the angle from the other side, almost 90 degrees or 180 degrees around from a different angle, the one more like the live angle, I'm like, no, that ball's clearly on the ground. Clearly. Like to my eye, it clearly bounces. And it just takes, you know, a little bit of leather to touch one blade of grass, and it's supposed to be, you know, on the ground. So there you go. And that's the thing. They called it incomplete on the field the way I did immediately. So unless it's crystal clear, that's the call. And that's exactly what happened. And the same thing on the Gunner hit, which was ruled an incompletion. That was absolutely an incompletion. Like you can, if you're a Florida fan, you could look at that and say, no, that's clearly a fumble. We got robbed. just because you want it to be that way doesn't make it so. The instant his hand moves 1 millimeter forward, it's a forward pass. I am an Oakland Raiders fan. I am a Los Angeles Raiders fan. They've been awful for 25 years, and the last time they were any good, the Brady rule, the Tuck rule, was part of my history. So if that's what you're going to call it, and that's what it's been since, then today's play against Gunnar Stockton was officiated correctly. And it was. His hand was moving forward, incomplete pass, everything continues. Again, just because we might not want it to be that way doesn't mean that it's not that way, right? So, but you ask, and to my eye, instantly, that was an incomplete pass. And I'm glad they got the call right, because there was a lot of stuff today. And again, KJ Bolden, that's targeting. Gunnar Stockton, that's an incomplete pass. The receiver for Florida, that's an incomplete pass on 3rd and 4. These things are clear. There were no bad calls like that in this game today. It didn't happen. So if you're arguing with a Gator fan next week, you can tell them to move along, unless you just want to argue, because really there's nothing to argue about here. Those were the correct calls, and I'm glad it went that way. Seems like you guys agree with me. So there you go. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the 94 of you who've decided to stumble in here and check us out. I know, or I assume, that all of you are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're not familiar, give us a shot. I appreciate you being in here. Consider hitting the thumbs up. Consider offering up a subscription. It would mean a lot to me. I looked today. We are exactly, or the last time I looked, we were 150 subscribers, 150 damn good dogs away from reaching 10,000 subscribers here on the channel. That, after I got to the initial 1,000, my next goal was 5,000. The next, of course, is 10. And we are that close. So if you're considering checking out a new Georgia Bulldogs channel, I hope you'll give us a chance. Again, thumbs up, maybe consider subscribing. I would appreciate it. As we do all kinds of stuff over here. Let's see what's going on here. Harold says, did anybody see that exchange between Coach Smart and Coach Gonzalez at the end of the game? It seems as if Coach Smart was checking him about his players' actions. I would have to go back and watch, Harold, because to me, when I glanced at it, I saw it, but when I glanced at it, in the week, Kirby had said he has a lot of respect for Gonzalez because he had coached against him a lot. And when I saw their interaction just quickly, because I was coming over here to do this, I thought he was having more of a conversation about, you've got a good roster. This is a good team. Good luck with whatever holds, whatever your future holds. This is what I took from it. I would have to go back and watch it again to see if there was anything else there. I can see what you're saying because it was chippy there at the end. There's no doubt. But I think that's what I took away from it, just from the quick glance that I saw. So, I mean, there might be something there. But there you go. See, so Antoine's with you, Harold. He says, yeah, maybe. It could be, there might have been something there, but I'd have to go back and look. I'm just not that clear because, again, I was just kind of got a glancing look at it. So, and let's see. Let's do the dang thing. Right, show some love. I appreciate that, little Frank. I appreciate that, bro. And yeah, if I have not yet gotten a response email from the giveaway we did Thursday on the SEC Powers Hour for the Rydell mini helmet. For this mini helmet here, I'll hold it up in case you weren't here on Thursday and you missed it. We gave this away Thursday night on the SEC Powers Hour, courtesy of Green Gridiron. And the young man who won the raffle that night, who won the selection, did not email me yet. So I'm giving him a couple of days to make sure that, I know how it is. Life happens. So I'm giving him a couple of days to email me and let me know. I'm going to try to reach out if I don't hear anything here soon in the next few days. And if I don't get a response, then we may have to redo that. I hope not. I hope we don't have to do it that way because I want the young man to get his helmet. But, it's up to you to email me and let me know where to send it. So I believe his first name was Danny, and he was over on Facebook. So Danny, if you catch this replay, then send me an email. Congratulations, your helmet is waiting. So there you go. Oh, appreciate you guys. Yeah, I appreciate you guys making a good pitch for us here. I love it. I appreciate that. So yeah, oh, look at that. We hit triple digits, 100 people. Thank y'all for checking us out. Again, talk to the guys and the ladies in the chat here. They'll tell you what we do over here. We have a good time. We talk dogs all the time, all year round. And it's not the general kind of stuff you see everywhere else. It's a little bit different. And at least we think it is. And I'm happy that we have an opportunity to come on here. The Bandit made it in here. I think I forgot to say hello earlier. Bandit, so what's up? Good to see you back in here. It seems like it's been a minute. I'm glad you made it in here. That game nearly gave me a heart attack. There it is. Oh, I forgot to change the font color. Still got to do that. But I'm with you, Bandit. That one's, I actually was able to keep my, keep everything under control. Cause I had said, man, this week in the shows, in the podcast, I'm like, this one's going to be closer. It's going to be closer than folks seem to want to think. I thought Georgia had the opportunity, had the game gone a certain way, Georgia had the ability to separate, especially in the second half. But like I said, I expected it to be under 7. I said, if it gets to 7, if it's a 7-point win for Georgia, then I will feel like this was a pretty easy victory. And Gunner did have the opportunity to trot into the end zone there and make it, you know, a wider spread. But that just would not have fit with the game, honestly. That would have been a deceiving final score. I just knew it was going to be close. And sure enough, there it was. Trey Prather says, what's up from Facebook? Good to have you over. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys dropping in and let me know where you're from too. All those locales. That was cool to see. And if you're just getting in here and you feel like dropping us a little comment, let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're watching from, because that's the cool thing about these channels is we have this community. It's all over the state, and that's beautiful. And beyond the state, as we've seen tonight. It's all gravy 912. It is all gravy tonight. It is. And I got to tell you, wait a minute. Oh, I got to move my thing here. Let's see. Is this the right panel? I'm not sure. Not sure. Yeah.
Told them, how about them dogs? That's what I told them.
There it is. Had to make sure I had the right panel. I didn't want to drop the wrong sound in there. That would have been ugly. But yeah, Curry, how about them? How about them, y'all? How about them? Our dogs are 7-1, and I don't know the number like right off the top of my head, but it was something nuts. Like Georgia already was like a 60 some odd percentage, 60 plus percentage to make the playoff, college football playoff. So if you look at what Georgia has left, there's a Mississippi State game that now looks a lot more challenging than it did Wednesday, right? They went and got their win on the road. They've been this close to a couple of big wins this year. And now with Georgia being beat up the way they are with injuries and given the kind of offense that Mississippi State plays, this is going to be a taxing game for Georgia on the road at Mississippi State, clang-a at 11 a.m. local. So Georgia fans, just get ready. This next week's going to make you pull your hair out, unless you're like me and you don't have any. And then you're going to be like, I don't know, stress eating or drinking or whatever it is you do. Because this one, I expect to be a challenge for the Dogs. And hey, my man Matt coming off the top rope, 86% now for ESPN, according to ESPN, for Georgia to make the college football playoff. But we're going to walk through this just the same. So Mississippi State, they are going to provide Georgia with a challenge on the road next week. Then the Dogs come home and take on a Texas team that listen, y'all know how I feel about Texas. If you don't, go back and watch some of the videos in the past. But Texas, according to X, the internet, is now absolutely back because they beat Vanderbilt by 3 points at home. Okay, so y'all look out. Ooh, Texas is coming. With all that said, I still think Texas has the right to improve just like Georgia does, week over week as this season continues. And maybe that's what's happening for them. I still have real questions about their offensive line, their ability to run the ball when they have to. Frankly, I'm still not completely sold on Arch Manning. The defense is very salty And that's without their starting safety, who was an All-American. So if they get him back by the time they play Georgia, that game's going to be tough. It just is. So is Georgia still the tougher team mentally? Are they still the tougher team overall? I think so. But don't think that's some Texas team that's going to come in here and not give Georgia everything they want. They will. And then you have Charlotte, which they should win. Then there's the neutral site game against Georgia Tech to end the year. So I said before the season started, I think Georgia was going to lose twice. As we look at the schedule, there's still opportunities for that to happen. I told you now the Mississippi State game, more dangerous than it was. Texas, easily talented enough to beat Georgia. Georgia Tech was the game that I expected might bite Georgia this year just because of the nature of that rivalry. So that's 3 games right there out of the Final Four that Georgia could find a way to lose. Injuries happen. Football happens. So this is far from over. But if Georgia gets to 11-1, clearly they're in. If they stick at 10-2, I still think they find their way into the playoff. But just like every other team, if they somehow mess around and lose 2 out of these last 4, which I don't expect, but if that happens, then you're really playing with fire about whether or not you get into this thing. So the percentages of them getting in is what it is today, right? No guarantee at all that that's how it's going to go down. We will see. Oh, and Matt was clarifying. He said 86% all year. So fair enough. Fair enough. Sid says, I need a stress-free win occasionally. Hey, maybe we get shocked. Maybe that's exactly what the game against Mississippi State will turn out to be. Just completely get blindsided by a performance from Georgia that none of us saw coming. And that would be what that is. But I don't think so. I think that's going to be a challenge. And I mostly because of the injuries and depth factors that we talked about already. Tune in for Charlotte, I guess is what I would say, Sid. Let's see. Yes, Matt, Texas is looking better than they've played. But top to bottom, I still think Georgia's better. Pardon me, y'all. Yep, we back all the time. Them and the U, baby. That's the way it goes. Who would have thought by this point in the season, Texas would seem like they were the easiest win? Well, I don't know that I go quite that far. I mean, again, the Mississippi State thing is circumstantial. If it weren't for the injuries, I would still have Mississippi State in front. But to your point, if the Dogs are without those guys against Mississippi State and then they happen to heal up before we play Texas, you could absolutely be right there, Bandit. I mean, that's exactly how that could work. AM is full of himself. I was pulling for Vandy. These next games are going to have us all yelling. Where's the Tylenol? All right, Teresa, that's what we're talking about. Where's the Tylenol? Still made it up in here. Woo, there it is. That's my guy checking in. I appreciate you making it in here, bro. Good stuff. Good to see you. Bandit says he had the team at 9-3 and had a feeling this year's squad would never felt like a national championship team. Bandit, I don't know if you've been able to watch the progression of what I've had to say over the year, but before the season, my exact phrase was, this is a 9-3 football team, but I believe in the superstructure of Georgia and Kirby Smart and the culture of the program enough to get them to 10-2. That's what I said before the season started. I said they're going to lose to Alabama until they show me that they're not going to lose to Alabama. And should they have beaten Alabama? You could make that argument, but they didn't. So they lost to Alabama. And again, I had them pegged as having another loss before the year was over. And just 2 weeks ago, I said, today, this is not a national championship team. Then following the win last week against Ole Miss, I said, well, you know what, fellas? I'm open to persuasion, right? I'm just going to write it out and see what happens because they're in every game. They have the heart of a champion. They're going to fight. And if things come together and they play a full 4 quarters, you could make an argument that they can beat anybody in the country. So All of that is still true. I'm still just playing it by ear. And then we see today, that is a talented Florida 1 through 22. They fought hard in a rivalry game, and Georgia still found a way to come out not playing their best football and win the game. So they are still just putting W's on the board week after week. At some point, you, me, and everybody else just has to get comfortable with the fact that that's who this team is. And that's the way the season's going to be. I didn't drill down on it that specifically. I did say this is going to be a challenging season. Put your seatbelt on and enjoy the ride because every game's going to be close. That much I did know was coming. So we'll see. But it sounds like we're pretty much close on the same spot here, Bandit, as far as that was concerned. What's up, Dog Nation? I see you guys checking in. Man, I love to see it. Ronnie's in here. Ronnie Hamath is in here. I don't think I've seen you before, friend. Welcome. Andrew Jones is in here. Oh, yeah, I know you're spoiled by 2022, friend. We all are. And we were. But I think that's my job. That's my role is, and again, if you're not new to the channel, you know, I was saying, y'all get ready. This is going to be a tight squeeze all year, but that's what college football is now. The SEC is hands down the deepest conference in the country. There's no debate. And when you have to play through this schedule, it's so narrow, the margin of victory. And it takes a culture, a coach, a program, a superstructure like Georgia has to navigate that, and a belief that you're going to find a way to get it done. And just every team doesn't have that. And I think in large part, that's due to the stability that Athens provides in the coaching staff and the way things operate now 10 years in for Kirby Smart, that it really is only matched by one, maybe two programs across the country. And that is what they lean on. That and having really good players, no doubt, to go out and get victories week after week. So it is always going to be interesting. And this is what football is. That 2022 season, listen, I know it's good to win, and I feel the same way. But if you just know that you're better, and every predictor heading into the game gives you an 80+% chance of victory, I mean, is that fun? I mean, it's fun because you win, but you're like, yeah, I know we were supposed to win. So this way, you get to see the guys show up and show out and figure out why they, were recruited to come to Georgia, why these coaches are compensated the way they're compensated, and why the Georgia program is different than the other programs across the country, with the exception of one or two, like a handful, are in that discussion with Georgia. And we're talking about programs, not teams, not seasons, programs, right? Those program defining traits are the things that have carried Georgia to victory more often than not this year. So there you go. And yes, Carol, I see you chiming in, chirping a little bit about the U. That's right. Another school that's forever back. They took a loss again today too. Bandit says, do you think we'll ever see another Georgia team closer to the 22 team? Oh man, I don't know, Bandit. I don't think you're going to see that. Not in the SEC. I think that's the biggest determining factor here. There could be tweaks to the system overall that might allow for teams to catch lightning in a bottle and super team for a season. I mean, that can absolutely happen. But I just wouldn't bet on it. You're like, do you think it's ever going to happen? I wouldn't bet on it. I don't think that's the way it's going to be. Not every season, I don't believe, will be as tight and as stressful as this season is proving to be, and as glorious, frankly, because when you play this way and then you win, like the title of this show tonight, Georgia crushes Florida hopes again. That's what makes all of this fun. That's why the debate with YouTube and ESPN and all these places about who's carrying the games and why, that's why they can do this, is because you can't script this kind of drama. That's why the most valuable content in the world is live sporting events. because of me and you and people like us who care so much about what happens in that 3-hour window. That's why it's so valuable. That's why those disputes happen. And that's why I don't think we're going to see one of those teams again. Not only in the SEC, especially not in the SEC, but I don't really think you're going to see one of those teams in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or anywhere else. Because, I mean, that Penn State team today against Ohio State, not good. Not good. Don't have the starting quarterback, and that game was close at the half. So I just don't think you're going to see those teams just hammer folks week after week the way you might have historically in college football. Let's see. There you go, Steele. Rub it in a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. You get to live with it for 365 till we do it again next year. And that's what it's all about. Oh, yeah, that's right. Tylenol, Teresa, Tylenol. Sid says, if I had a nickel for every time I see a Fire Bobo comment on Saturdays, I know, man, it's insane. It's insane. You're right. He was in his script when it mattered. That's for sure. Okay, Steele, he says rum is responsible for these comments. Nothing wrong with that, bro. But here's the thing. I would love to know what kind of rum you got going on. If you have never tried it, here in Georgia, a Georgia-based product, don't worry, I got nothing to offer you this time. Richland rum out of South Georgia. That's some outstanding rum. I love it. Fantastic bottle. If you hadn't tried it, I suggest you do. Because that's good stuff. If you like rum, you got to try Richland rum. They are award-winning. That is good stuff. Let's see. What else is shaking? That's right, Sid. If they figure it out, man, they're going to be tough. I heard a stat. Gosh, was it yesterday? I guess it was. And don't take this to the bank. So I'm breaking my own rule here and going out on a limb a little bit. I'm going to repeat something that I have not entirely vetted yet. But I heard a fact yesterday that said Georgia, at least in the modern era, and I can be pretty confident in the modern era, but I want to go back and check early records. Georgia has not had a quarterback that is not from Georgia win an SEC championship. In the modern era, I'm pretty certain that's correct. But again, I want to check the historical records, because I want to go all the way back to the 40s. I want to go back to the 60s. I want to make sure. But that is a pretty cool fact. And when you look at the fact that you've got Gunnar Stockton, whose only dream growing up was to play quarterback for the University of Georgia, knowing that he's leading this team and they're fighting the way they are and they are still in the mix to get back to Atlanta, that's pretty doggone cool. And so I know he would love to have his own opportunity, to get that done, because he won it last year. And so he didn't start the game. So you can see the gray area there, right? Technically he won the game, but he wasn't the starter. So I don't know if you give, the other quarterback, Beck, I don't know if you give him credit for that win or if you give it to Gunnar. For the argument, they gave it to Gunnar, right? Because he was the guy who finished the game. So I don't know. It's an interesting stat. I want to check on it. But if it's true, that's pretty doggone cool. I think you're right, Bandit. And I think some of us are getting up to speed faster than others, right? I think that in terms of the SEC and the new normal of college football, again, I have tried my best to arm my, consistent community here on the channel with the information that they needed to get to that point quicker, so that we're not living and dying like dramatically with the swings of every week. I mean, it's going to be this way. But you're right. Even somebody who beats that drum, I found myself today in the kitchen thinking it was halftime. And I'm like, you said it was going to be tight at the half, so don't worry. And I'm like, yes, I did say that. So I was talking to myself about like, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. It's going to be fine. It turns out the Dogs made me right. And that makes me happy. So there you go. That's right. Fourth quarter. That's right. And yes, Teresa, they absolutely improve as they go. And you know, we've been talking about that a minute. That's right, Bandit. It makes you appreciate the wins more. And that's the thing. There are so many, and I'm not talking about you here, but there are so many college football bros out there who are just like, man, Georgia should win every week. It shouldn't be close. The coaches suck, you know, the player, whatever. That's just, come on now. The internet is what it is. You can say whatever you want, but I could never run out there. I could never, isn't that what the kids say? Run out there and say something like that, because I just feel it makes you like talk about cold takes. You know what I mean? Like that is not what college football is. And if you watch the game, you are aware of that. Statements like that are made by people who halfway are paying attention, but yet want the same sort of credibility that might come from another fan who watches every game, who gets into it at a level way beyond what fan number one is just saying, you know, but they want to be considered the same. And, you know, if you're making statements like that, it's pretty easy to identify you as somebody who maybe you're not as invested as some of the other Georgia fans we talk to. You know what I mean? So just my take. Kevin says, BS call on the helmet to helmet. The offensive player lowered his head into the defender's helmet. It's already there. Shouldn't have been called. I disagree, Kevin. Not on the fact that helmet, not on that part, but on the fact that it shouldn't have been called. He doesn't even have to hit him in the helmet for it to be targeting. The reason it was absolutely targeting was because you have to see what you hit, which means your face has to be up, and KJ's was not. He hit him with the top of his helmet. And they've widened that zone on the crown of the helmet to 6 inches across, you know, both ways. And he hit him almost square dot on the top because KJ lowered his helmet. That's what makes it targeting. Not that he hit him in the helmet. It's not helmet to helmet. That's not the penalty. The penalty is targeting, forcible contact to the head or neck area. And then there are criteria. Did he launch or whatever? KJ didn't launch, but he absolutely hit him with the crown of his helmet. Automatic flag. That's a good call. So I agree with you that the offensive player lowered his helmet, and that there's no dispute at all, but that's not why they called it targeting. I do too, Antoine. I want to see Indiana tested. Absolutely. But they play in the Big Ten, right? So until they meet up with a team that I'm still not completely sold on, Ohio State, then we won't know. I mean, Indiana beat Oregon already. So that is right. I'm not mistaken about that. So that's a good win for sure. Maybe I heard somebody say this week, I'm pretty positive, that they have the best win in the country this year over an Oregon team, earlier this season. So that would be a test, but I'm with you. Unlike the SEC, the Big Ten does not provide the rigor that the SEC provides week in and week out. And Indiana looks great. They can score like crazy. We won't know until they line up against a team from the SEC or or against Ohio State potentially, that can athlete with them, and then we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, they sure wet the bed last year when they had an opportunity to do something when everybody was watching. So I'm with you there. I want to see them tested for sure. For sure. Okay, Steele, so you've had Richland. I love Richland. Oh, yeah, Valdosta. Yep. But I love Richland rum. I think it's great stuff, man. Why is the rum gone? Oh, Teresa. I love it. I love it. And yeah, man, Steele, today is a good day. And that's the thing, friends. There's football on right now. Georgia Tech is still losing. Florida has already lost. And Tennessee's playing. So it's absolutely a good day. This is absolutely a good day, and we have to enjoy them, because when they're not good days, when our team happens to lose, we know they suck. So we have to live it up and enjoy the victories for sure. Every victory matters, and every victory is important. And we need to enjoy it just as much as the team does. We probably will never enjoy it that much, but we need to. We need to try. Oh, that's right. They make us proud, Teresa. I'm with you there. Absolutely with you. And see, I appreciate you guys having my back here on the call with KJ. That is what it is. Bandit says, wait a minute, lost it. Says Oregon looked like the best team until they had to play on a neutral field. Yeah. I mean, that's how it is. And it will shake itself out. As much as we love our Dogs, it's conceivable if they ran into a team like Cincinnati, if they ran into a team like Indiana, they might go down that day, right? Just simply because of the matchups that we know. Indiana's going to throw the ball all over the place. Georgia has a hard time defending the pass, especially now, given the injuries that are back there. So, it's all matchups. It's all when do you play them? It's all that kind of stuff, and it will sort itself out. It will sort itself out. And I actually haven't had a chance to watch Indiana, just being real with you, because as y'all know, I don't get to be home every Saturday to watch games. So like today, that game was on in the other room. I kept checking the score, but it was not on the big screen in here. So I didn't watch the game, right? I just know that they are potent. I know that they have a quarterback who likes to throw it around. I know that they're tougher than maybe you might think at first watch. And I mean, I'm not hating on Indiana at all. They're just going to have to go prove it just like everybody else. So there you go. Yeah. Tech's still losing. Matt asked earlier, which upsets? And that's the one that I picked. Well, you know this, Steele, because you were on the SEC show, at least for a minute. And that's one of those things where I'm like, I think Tech's in a spot. I mean, they still might get out of there with a win, but I just knew it was going to be tricky. I knew it was going to be tricky for them. Carol says, I think since the targeting call against KJ happened in the first half, the second half serves as his suspension. Again, you guys might be correct on that. I was thinking that since he played into the second quarter, though, he might have to sit out the first half against Mississippi State. I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see. Oh, getting good. Well, I don't want to keep you guys from football here. I just wanted to jump on here and share my thoughts and chat with my people for a few minutes, because I didn't do a watch along, but I wanted to, since I had the opportunity, I'm at home, I wanted to come on here and do an instant reaction. Bandit says, if we make the playoffs and don't get embarrassed, I'll consider this a successful season. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I know that there are people who automatically would be mad at both of us for saying that. They're like, no, Georgia should win the national championship because Georgia. Come on now. We all know. I think if you're an informed football fan, you know that's not reality. So there you go. All right, Teresa, have a good evening, friend. Like I said, I'm going to get out of here myself. I'm going to go back to watching football, which is something I really enjoy. And I know Herb and Rod's jumping in here real quick just to say hi. I think they're about to do something over here on the YouTubes. So if y'all looking for more chat, y'all can go hang out with them and see what's shaking over there. But yeah, this was a good day. Again, I don't have a lot of stuff to throw up on the screen like I usually do, because I didn't produce this thing. This is live. But I was excited with the way things happened in Jacksonville today. And I felt good about it because, like I said, I thought it was going to be a tight game. I told you less than 7 would be the score. It turned out 24-21. I love the way that Gunner ended it with the kneel down. I thought that was great. And like I said, a little pinch of salt never hurt anybody. And twist the knife just a little bit in an arch rival. Absolutely. Let's do that every chance we get, because every day's a great day to hate the Gators. Y'all can say it with me. Don't be shy. Today's the day. You know what I mean? Again, shout out to Chauncey Bowens. Happy for that young man that he had the big run there to put the dagger in it for the Dogs. That was awesome. Shout out to CJ Allen. Really good game today. Got after it a little bit. And to the whole defense, right? They didn't do it all the time. But when they had to, go back to what we said about the third downs, right? They held Florida to a very low, I think it was like 2 of 11 on 3rd down, and then they were 0-2 on 4th down. That is because the defense made plays. So you got to give them credit where it's due. Gunner, over 220 yards again with a touchdown pass, or 2 touchdown passes, I guess it was. And he could have had that rushing touchdown. So another great performance by him. The lifelong Georgia Bulldog fan who has only ever wanted to play quarterback for the University of Georgia can now hang this skin on his wall. He's got Tennessee, he's got Auburn, and now he's got Florida. That's a pretty doggone good run right there. The only one left out there among the teams that people might call rivals is Georgia Tech, and he's going to have that shot later this year. There's no telling if Gunner's going to come back or not. He could. We don't know. But if he doesn't, this has been a pretty damn good run for the kid from Tiger. And I'm happy that he is a Georgia Bulldog. I'm happy he's here. And I am just happy that this story is playing out the way it did. Sid, I see you saying it's first time checking us out. I appreciate that. And I hope you'll come back with us. Since this is your first time, I'll go ahead and tell you, we are live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the live stream of the podcast. And then we come back on Thursdays at 8 o'clock for the SEC Powers Hour, where my brother and I come in here, have a great time for an hour, pick all the SEC games, and we take it halfway seriously, and we just have a really good time. And we talk about, all the games in the league as well as some of the best games from across the country. So that's a fun show. I invite you to come check us out if you will. And if you're not subscribed, please do. If you know a good friend who's not subscribed, tell them. Because like I said, the last time I looked, we were 150 away from 10K here on YouTube. And that's my next big goal. And I thank you all for helping me achieve that. If we've done a good job tonight and you chose to leave a thumbs up, I appreciate you. It's like I always say, it's my job to earn it. You don't have to give it. But if I've earned it, please hit the thumbs up, because not only does it tell me I'm doing a good job, but it also helps spread the word to other damn good dogs out there, and I appreciate that. And if you've had fun, maybe considering the subscription to the channel, because like I said, we are pushing to 10K. We're this close. I like to say, and by all accounts that I can find, we are the largest independent Georgia Bulldogs football podcast on YouTube. I'm very proud of that fact. And I can only do that if you guys join me, and I appreciate you being here. So thank you so very much for hanging out with us. I hope this was fun. I hope it adds to your college football weekend. I think we all got to watch a little bit more football. You guys have a good evening. Take care. And as always, every day is a great day to hate the Gators. Go Dogs!